I'm a recently divorced man who was in an 8-year relationship or marriage where the sexual frequency was roughly 10 to 12 times a year. This was before we had children, after which the frequency was even less but was at least understandable. When we were intimate, she would complain that it wasn't romantic enough, and this was coming from a woman who never reads, yet she devoured all 3 volumes of the Harry Potter series, which I believe is just more of you go girl, compete with men in everything that you do mentality. I'm in my mid-30s, very fit, and she doesn't exercise. I'm also well-groomed, have a great job, I'm clean, and help with the children, etc. Can you help me decode the behavior? I don't want to change her at this point because I'm quite frankly exhausted from the lack of unfulfilled desires. It's more about wanting to observe and take notes of it's perfectly normal for you to be feeling the way you are. A lot of women seem to use sexual intimacy with a man as a way to gain his commitment, get him to fall in love, and then get married. After that, she works on having children with him to ensure the commitment is even stronger, provided that she wants children to begin with, which isn't always the case. She also has to make sure that he's a good plow horse and a provider. Sexual intimacy is the carrot in such a case, Mr. Unknown. I'm glad that you didn't buy your flowers and that you actually stood your ground and that you didn't become a simp, and now you're in your 30s, no less. Typically when a man's testosterone level drops and he starts to become aware of how women use their feminine charms to manipulate men. In my previous relationships, the women that I was with were often desperate to give me attention even if I didn't seek it out because they knew that I could control my own sexuality. You can interpret female behavior as an endless sequence of events designed to try to own you, your time, your money, your health, your body, your mind, and your children. Most women seem to covet male power so much that they want everything from the guy, but what they don't seem to understand is that the more they take of a man's vitality and trap him, the less they get in the end because they turn a perfectly good man into a simp who does everything for her and is completely subserved. The flowers as well as the romance that your soon-to-be ex-wife wanted you to perform was basically a game that she set up that she made you play, and you can't win because it's a never-ending messenger treadmill type of game. She will temporarily be happy with what you give her, but eventually she will demand more. I think it's important for women to understand this type of behavior, as well as how and why they take advantage of men. People often say that men are 50 years behind women in our society because of feminism, because men didn't change with the times. However, the terrible thing is that men don't want to change because most men receive fulfillment from actually giving to women and children. If men didn't get this fulfillment, our species would never have survived to this point. The bad thing is that women act as the central bankers or banks, and men act like the poor serfs in our society. Big banks and corporations are increasing their wealth at the expense of lowering debt and building up other tangible assets. Are two enemies who aim to steal our time, work, and riches. We are fighting a war against two enemies that seek to steal this from us. The marriage that you are in, Mr. Anonymous, is definitely salvageable for the sake of your children. If you find another distraction to take your mind off of what you're not receiving in that marriage, just don't be a wimp and try to please her because that'll never work. She'll never be satisfied. Perhaps talk to her and try to explain to her that she needs to feed you more carrots and give you less of the whip if you want to stay there and try to make things work. But I don't think your relationship is going to work in the end because it sounds like her lack of attention is what it sounds like your wife, who you are currently separated from, is doing this to you. And it has now backfired and made your relationship unstable. However, for women, they have the safety net of divorce, alimony, and child support. So if you don't give her the resources that you make, she'll get the state to extract them from you by force. However, in the past, when women left their husbands, it was actually the husbands who got to keep the wealth and the children as well as the home. I envy you because you have children, but I don't envy your situation with your separation and most likely your eventual divorce. I had an ex-girlfriend who constantly complained about a lack of flowers and romance for many years, and I never gave in to her and became a simp because for some reason it made me feel terrible giving her what she wanted, and to this day, I don't know why I felt that way. It wasn't the money, but it was the principle of it all, and I'm thinking about